Hey everybody, Christy Birchville here. Today we are looking at Ezekiel chapter 17. Ezekiel 17, God goes through another kind of analogy of allowing Ezekiel to demonstrate kind of what's going on and the judgment. And God talks about taking a small tree and transplanting it and moving it, and how will that small tree continue to grow? Will the big tree continue to grow? And there's a verse when we get towards the end of the chapter, verse 24, where it talks about all of the trees of the forest will know that I, the Lord, bring down the tall tree, and I make the low tree grow tall. I dry up the green tree, and I make the dry tree flourish. I, the Lord, have spoken, and I will do it. It's such an interesting idea because what it reminds us of is the fact that God is the one that controls the outcomes. We can have a lot of different things going on in our lives and we can talk through a great many things, but at the end of the day, whether or not something is successful or whether or not it fails is really entirely up to God. Our whole purpose is to be obedient. If we are being obedient and if God chooses to allow that to be successful, it's because he did it. It's not because we did it. If it fails, it's because he allowed it to, not because we did. We have to understand that it comes down to our obedience. God allows and chooses the outcomes to best fit his purpose and to what's going to glorify him the most. So we don't need to get so concerned about the outcome. It's like talking about witnessing. We should witness to everyone because we're obedient in that. Whether or not they accept Christ, that's between them and God. He's responsible for those outcomes, not us. So as we're looking at our stuff today and thinking through the things that we do, we need to remind ourselves, are we being obedient? Are we following him? Period. We can't measure our obedience based on success. And we also can't measure it for other people. So if we're seeing other people who are struggling or maybe who are doing really well, we can't use that as a judgment to determine whether or not their obedience is what it should be, because God is the one that determines outcomes. Are we keeping that in mind and just seeking to be obedient today? Thanks.